Welcome to the Business Fix every Tuesday, 10 to 11:30 p.m. And today we are handling the issue of taxation in Kenya. Now, taxation in Kenya dates back before the colonization by the Brits. The Arabs who colonized East Africa in the 7th century taxed the local coast region of East Africa on the basis of Islamic law. The taxes imposed were mainly based on trade. Then 1901 happened. What happened in 1901? Heart tax. Commissioner Sir Charles Elliot introduced the heart tax regulations, charging ₹1 annually per dwelling to force locals to work for the white settlers. Then a development in 1910, poll tax. This was enacted under the Heart and Poll Tax Ordinance to cover African males 25 and older who did not own hearts. So they were expanding the tax net even back then, often enforced via violent coercion or forced labor. Now you might ask, why the rupee, the Indian currency? Well, by the turn of the 20th century, Indian traders and laborers working on the Uganda Railway heavily outnumbered Europeans in the region. The Indian rupee was therefore the primary, most stable and widely circulated currency available. So from heart tax to now, Kenyans saying they are hurt by taxes. Tonight, we unpack taxation in Kenya, how you are impacted, and whether we are progressing or regressing in how we handle taxation in this country. And we start from the ground. These are the wananchi voices. Esther Diana details.
The government of this country is overtaxing the citizens.
Taxes yote iko juu, hakuna pahali kuna faida, yote ni hasara.
Taxes iko juu sana, anatufinya mbaya sana.
The truth is, it doesn't matter who you are, where you are, or what you do, be it a bus conductor, mama mboga, or even if you're jobless. All these taxes, VAT, withholding, or even excise, you name it, find its way to you, even in the most rural part of the country. The expectation is that every cent deducted from wallets is going towards building the nation and improving the livelihoods of Kenyans. However, does the reality on the ground reflect any ease for Kenyans in terms of service delivery and development?
This country, we are being overtaxed, and the government feel that this is their money. That is the problem. The taxes should go down. When you compare the services vis-a-vis what they're saying, calling development, it doesn't match. That's why we are arresting people with billions in cash.
Ushuru iko juu na inafanya karibu kila kitu inakuwa juu. Kwa sababu wakati ushuru uko juu, unga iko juu, mkate iko juu, mafuta iko juu, kila kitu iko juu. And inafanya sisi, ile kitu tulikuwa tunafanya na time frame kidogo, inafika tunafanya na muda mrefu.
Hizi taxes kuna venye zimetufinya, unapata ile masaa tulikuwa tunaamka inakufanya hadi uextend. Sasa unapata unaamka mapema, unafunga usiku, zinatufinya sana. Ukienda kwa soko vitu zimeongezeka, ukienda kwa maduka kila kitu imeongezeka.
As a Kenyan, are you overtaxed? How is the tax burden for you?
Tunalipa ushuru ili tujitegemee. Na kama tunalipa ushuru, alafu mwisho wa siku labda ushuru ule haufanyi kazi, pale sisi kama wananchi ndio tutakuwa tuna shida. Kwa sababu tunataka tuone tunapolipa ushuru kazi inafanyika.
There is no country that has ever developed by taxation alone. You must be innovative and creativity.
The message is clear. You cannot tax your way into prosperity. These words have become all too familiar under this particular administration. However, we see a mix of reaction towards whether or not Kenyans are being overtaxed, or do they feel the impact of every deduction from their wallets being felt in development or even in their households.
Na kusema ukweli, mimi naona kama ushuru inanifinya kama Mkenya. Kwa sababu naweza kusema kama for example payslip yangu, nikienda kuchukua payslip yangu kuna housing levy. Kila saa inaniuma sana kwa sababu hiyo pesa sijui kama hiyo nyumba nitaipatiwa. Sasa serikali ingesema kwamba tumeikopesha pesa.
Nimeona kuna uongezeko katika county. Hiyo pesa taxation, as much as we love our country and we would like our country to develop, I think there is no development that will come without digging deep in our pockets.
In the coming financial year alone, the Kenya Revenue Authority is chasing aggressive targets of up to 2.9 trillion shillings amid high cost of living. In June, inflation hit 6.7%, signaling the highest level of strain on Kenyan households. In this tax environment, ordinary Kenyans and formal businesses shoulder most of the load.
But our problem is coming from members of the parliament because they are not playing their duties. Them, they are playing politics day and night. What we need that CDF to be taken to the Ministry of Education to be free. That one will lower the living standard of Kenyans also. We need to give ideas that can bring the country to an equilibrium position of economy.
Kiangalia kama venye kuko sekta saa hii, kila mtu analalamika. Si shule, si hosi, si kikazi. Mambo yote iko chini.
Kitu gava inakosea kufinya msee wa chini kabisa, unaelewa? Na wase wanaumia, especially young fathers. Msee kama mimi baba ya mtu sahi, kuna watoto wawili. So pande yangu tuseme school fees, unaelewa? Au ukikuja hapa tena tao gari wase wapandi, wanatafuta gari cheap. Unaona, so msee atabidi atembe tuseme distance paka kutoka hapa distance ndio pande gari iko na mfuko yake.
And even as Kenyans are taxed disproportionately, tax to GDP ratio remains marginally low. At the same time, debt servicing devours more than 50% of revenues, leaving scraps for services. With these dynamics, economic growth lags, trust is broken, and Kenyans are over-squeezed with little return.
I must admit and say that the way the government is collecting taxes is like what we call the mob.
Now that said, the current system hits salaried workers and MSMEs with narrow bands and indirect taxes. And while these may appear progressive on paper, it fuels evasion and fatigue, costing the exchequer billions in tax revenues. And now we feel the question, are Kenyans overtaxed? I am Esther Diana, back to you in studio.
Thank you very much.